I couldn't even afford QuickBooks to have a computer at home. So I mobbed this CD and put it at home. So are you untrainable? Yes. Yeah, I was untrainable. You can always have a job. You can always go back. I still remember the conversation now. My daughter had been born then, so that was really tough for me to go, staff are never going to work as hard as you.
What was the most unexpected lesson that you learned in your journey so far?
Welcome to Evolve and Inspire, a podcast that proves success isn't about where you start, but where you decide to go. I'm your host, Huzaifa, and each episode we bring you raw, unfiltered conversations with remarkable individuals who've defied the odds, broken through barriers, and transformed their circumstances. From humble beginnings to extraordinary achievements, our guests share their journeys of resilience, determination, and unwavering spirit. These aren't just success stories, they're blueprints of possibility, showing that your background doesn't define your future. Whether you're starting from scratch, facing obstacles, or seeking inspiration to take that next bold step, you're in the right place. Together, we'll explore the mindsets, decisions, and pivotal moments that turned adversity into advantage. So join me as we uncover stories that prove that the right mindset and determination, anyone can evolve beyond their circumstances and inspire others along the way. This is Evolve and Inspire. Let's begin.
Today's guest, we have Kully Sahota, who I know quite well. He's a franchise owner of Tax Assist Accountants, and he owns a territory from Birmingham city centre all the way down to Hagley, Stourbridge. He's built a £1 million practice. Take us back to your early days. What was it like growing up, and what shaped your entrepreneurial journey?
We have always thought that I always wanted to do business, from a young age. I was a naughty kid, very rebellious, always broke the rules, my teachers all say that. They all said the same things, that he's got a brain, he don't use it, he wants to be the classic clown, the joker. I don't think things have changed too much in the office environment. I've always thought that I could do something separately. I didn't feel that I could be restrained to a 9 to 5 or work for someone, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just what I wanted to do personally.
Before your Tax Assist franchise, you've got some experience in treasury and banking. Tell us a bit more about that.
My education was in accounting, so done A-level accounting, failed that, decided to do a degree in accounting. It makes sense. So done a degree in accounting, then done a master's in banking and finance, done my chartered accounting qualification. I was looking for a finance role, really difficult graduate role at that time, couldn't find anything, and I landed a job at HSBC business banking. Worked in Coventry, 1.5 hours commute there, 1.5 commute back every day. Luckily, I seen a accountant's role for a small, medium firm in my local area. I didn't have no experience, blagged it a little bit, got the role, and was working for the company accountant at the time. Company was turning about, 6 to £10 million turnover, so no small feat there. Company accountant that was supposed to train me that actually left after about 6 weeks that I was there. So
Are you untrainable?
yes, I was untrainable. They had enough, and they left after that time. Guy who actually owned the company I actually got on with, and he's like, "Can you do this for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? I'll give it a go." So I was running credit control, doing all the invoicing. Never used QuickBooks in my life. They had QuickBooks desktop at the time. I couldn't even afford QuickBooks to have a computer at home. So I mobbed this CD and put it at home, and started, doing my own tutorials, got the guide, learned it all myself. Ran his company for a couple of years as being the head accountant. I had auditors come in and, audit the company. He used to review my work, but I'd look after all the suppliers accounts, all the debtors accounts, looking at his reports, credit control, invoicing. So I cut my teeth there, I say. At that time, I always wanted to work, I say, for myself. So I was never happy at any role. From there, I moved to interesting position in the jewelry quarter, trading, millions of pounds of gold a day, precious metals in the bullion market, hedging against fluctuations of, prices going up, prices going down, not to make profit, just to hedge the risk. So I did that for 5 years. To be honest with you, I didn't enjoy the environment. I enjoyed the role, but I didn't enjoy the environment. So I left there. I went to the NHS, something complete different. I was fortunate enough that they decided to pay for my chartered accountancy exam at the time. Again, something I was looking for. that's what will be the next stage up. So I stayed there for a few years, going around the different hospitals and looking after their budget. But yeah, so you speak to clinicians about their finances, about where they can save money, and recruiting staff members.
When your son quite young ones whilst you were doing your SEMA qualifications?
When I was studying, the kids fortunate, I don't think I'd do the study at the age then, yeah. So maybe like one exam was left, or I was waiting for a result at that time. Yeah, I think I was a top SEMA. I was doing my top SEMA, so I did all the qualifications. You actually like a coursework paper. And that's when my son was born. So that was a great timing. That's when I moved into banking. I got offered a job at the building society, doing regulatory reporting / treasury for them. Had no experience in it, but my direct report, I didn't got on with her. So after about nine months, I left. Not personality, I want to system focus. I want to, put in systems and things. She was used to working an old way and, doing things manually. And then I actually had a really interesting job at Islamic Bank from Britain. Then it was called Our Bank. And from there, I was doing the back office treasury for them. So doing a lot of the trades and speaking to banks in Abu Dhabi on a daily basis, different timing differences. And again, doing like multi-million pound deals for the bank there. Learned a lot about, Sharia finance there. Doing my own research and studying as well. Again, it's a totally different skill. I'm always looking to upskill. I'm always looking to improve myself. And that's not just, you can't just rely on your 9 to 5 or, your employer to teach you. You have to make that effort to go to yourself. And I've always, whatever role I've had, I've always felt that you have to do some, self-study enough. And that's like from saying that learning QuickBooks myself, learning, buying books on Microsoft Access, Excel, and, these kind of things. So, that was a great position. Set me, I could have stayed in treasury.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So then I actually got, I wouldn't say headhunted, but because I moved around so much, a lot of the consultants knew me. And so they approached me and said, look, we've got a new position coming up, really interesting. It's a new bank that's setting up, a treasury bank. You're going to be like, the 7th employee as such. And I said, yeah, that's good. They said, you'll be like, middle office treasury manager. And would you be interested in it? I said, yeah. It was some chart savings bank at the time. And I think now they've got like, billions of pounds in retail accounts. And at that time, they're just setting up. I was working on the treasury system, setting up the system in the background while working on getting the banking license. I was doing the ALCO meetings, the minutes, the asset liability committee meetings, working in treasury, again, hedging risks, look at interest rate risk. And that was great. That was like, if you want to call it a proper job now, for how old I was then, just turned 30. Good money, very secure, great bonuses, great places to work. And then there's rumors of that the Treasury Department were going to get moved to London. And I'd born my son then. My daughter was on the way, or just born out. So I think she's on the way. And then we knew that was having another child. And I didn't want to be in a position where my job moved and I have to be away from my family for that time. So I started looking around. So what can I do? Looked at a lot of franchises in the finance field. That's what I knew at that stage. Doing finance or accounts since college, and that's the only field that I've been in. And so decided to go with tax assist accountants. At the time, that was a lot of money for me, a lot of outlay, all my savings. Second child on the way. Mrs. was not working. We had moved out, so I had a mortgage to pay. And I told my director, my finance director, I'm looking to do this. He said, basically, he said, you're stupid. He goes, look, we'll give you a raise. You got a job here for life. Why do you want to risk that for? And I was like, okay, so they're going to give me more monies. And that was a tough decision, to be honest with you.
Did they end up moving to London?
Yeah, they did, yeah. 12 to 18 months after that, I thought it would be like 6 months.
Yeah.
He was probably, so they did move the treasury function to London. One of my best mates, and I said, look, you can always have a job. You can always go back. I still remember the conversation now. At that time, I was thinking, everyone's going to cuss me. That was the risk I was playing at. Now I decided to do it. Tax assist training was actually in Norwich. They're based in Norwich. So I had to go there for 8 weeks. Drove there on a Sunday evening, which took me 4 hours because I think it was at 8:14, used to be closed. And then, on a Friday evening, 4 hours back. My daughter had been born then, so that was really tough for me to go, leave my missus with 2 kids at home, go there and study. But I don't know if this was going to work, do the course there. And that was a tough time. So where are we now? So I've got, I would say, 5 franchise locations in Birmingham, 11 members of staff, and looking at a gross recurring fees of over £1 million. So not bad going in 10 years.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. What were some of the biggest obstacles you faced whilst you set up for tax assist? Like any business, I think everyone normally sees what the results are of a business and not what the hard work is that goes into a business. So what were the biggest obstacles, or there were times maybe that you thought, this isn't for me, I've made a wrong decision?
I probably had one client, I was hammering like £3,000-4,000 cash a month while still paying the expenses at home. And I would say, look, the biggest thing is diet. As a business owner, everyone has a self diets. It's how you overcome them, whether that's be through some, spiritual or, your mental development, or you've got sport around you. For myself, I was fortunate enough, I had, by my wife, and I wanted to quit after about 3-4 months, having no clients there. I was sitting there at work like 8 to 8, because I didn't want to come home. I had no clients, but I was doing like 12 hours a day. What were you doing in the pro? I wanted to like be the best accountant and learn every single tax rule I could. And, so I was like, every single HMRC course I could find, every single course, going to network events. I hated networking, and doing this just to keep myself busy while spending, 3, 4, 5,000 pounds a month, paying the franchise fee, paying costs, paying system overheads and everything else. So yeah, that was a tough time. But my wife said to me that you wanted to do this for so long, listening to your crap at home for another 5 years, that I want my own business, and now you've got the opportunity to go and do it. So I thought, what should I do next? So rather than waiting for the income to come in, I decided to invest further into the business, and I moved from a small serviced office to actually a shop front, which I'm still at now. And that was probably the game changer for me. I done the shop up, had put the signs up, and people started, seeing the shop, and I started having phone calls, recruited my first staff member. He was my brother-in-law at the time. He was going through a difficult time. So he helped me, helped him. I need someone I can trust. So he helped me do all the admin, the back work, while I focused on growing the business. At that time, I was doing all the accounts myself, or doing the payroll on a Sunday. And then from there, slowly, I started outsourcing work because I couldn't afford to have someone full time, using subcontractors, and things started growing, momentum.
You mentioned your wife's support. How important do you think it is to have that support to be able to prosper in business?
Some wives might say, oh no, you're spending too much time away, or, you look how much money you're wasting. She never once said that to me, which I think was a big thing, because the stress of everything else going on, but without having to deal with that situation at home.
Yeah. I think when anytime you're running a business, and especially when you're starting a business, sometimes you're at home, but you're a bit absent because you're just focused on what you've got in terms of what work, and you do bring your work home. When you're working a 9 to 5, you can actually switch off when you come home. Whereas when you're running your own business, you have the pressures of running your own business, and you're bringing that work home. And I think it's very important that you have that strong support network, especially if you're married and children, that someone is there that, can support you in that.
Put you on the spot now, a few questions. I'm sure it's the same for you. I know you've got a daughter, you've looking to move location and stuff.
I have too many ideas. I have new idea every evening. Look, I'll be honest, yeah, my wife's gold when it comes to that. And that kind of just allows me to do what I want to do, in the sense of, in terms of business or whatever. But I think, having said that, having a child, your whole life shifts in terms of focus as well. Because when you're on your own before you're married, you just got to take care of yourself, really. And then you get married, you've got another person that potentially you have to take care of. But when you have a child, it's just your whole life just changes. It's not about you anymore. It's not about what you want. It's not about your guilty pleasures. Everything's just focused around there.
Yeah, I look at you and I think that I'm really happy, what you're doing with your family situation and where you are. You're trying to do something that you're not just focusing on the monetary value. You're looking to have that work-life balance, which everyone wants, where you're trying to spend time with your daughter, work when you want to, which is, money can't buy that. And that's one thing that I wish I had done differently.
I think it's different because, like, obviously you went to university, you did SEMA, you had a different career path. I think for me, I came out of school, did an apprenticeship, and I was in accounting. I've been in accounting for over 12 years now. So that's all I've known. And it's kind of given me a 5-6 year head start in that sense, to be able to kind of decide what I want to do in terms of spending more time with my daughter, really, and my family. I think it's just a different career path that we've been on, but the end result's pretty much the same. I think maybe, like, in your situation, and this was a question that I was going to ask you a bit later on, I think everyone's why is different, and certain things that happen in life determine your why. For example, me moving away, I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when you came to my wedding, there was no inkling of me moving away at all. It was a no. Like, when my wife first asked me, I was like, no, Birmingham's my home, everyone knows me, kind of thing, and it's my comfort. But then knowing that when my wife got pregnant, and knowing that I'm having a daughter, it was like, I don't really want to raise my daughter here. Along with that came this thing where I realized that I want a different life to the normal life. I don't And what I've really enjoyed in the last year or so is that I don't miss a lot with my daughter, any little milestones or anything like that. And you're right, money can't buy that. Money is a byproduct in the sense that it allows you to do it, but you can't buy the fact that I don't miss anything with my daughter.
Probably that I didn't want to have my kids had a life that I had. I didn't have a tough life, as in, my parents were typical, immigrants, working 50 hours a week and not having day off, working in a foundry factory, never came to our school plays, our sports events. I don't resent that. But at the same time, I was there as well. And that's what I tried to do for my kids. I didn't want to miss like a play or any of school.
Yeah. Would you agree that your parents obviously came into the country, worked, but that gave us a solid foundation that if you went into business and business didn't work, it doesn't mean that we still have a bit of a security blanket in a way. I think that's very important because they couldn't have done and taken the risk that we can take now. With our parents coming into the country and working, it gave us kind of a security blanket to be able to set up businesses and allowed us to kind of fail. We can fail, whereas they could never have done something along those lines because it was too risky for them.
It was just survival for them. All they wanted was pay off their mortgage, have a family. The why is that, I'm driven because I didn't want that life, and for one, I would never be able to work as hard as them.
Why do you think that is?
It's a mindset thing. I think that we're in the UK, we do have that, blanket round us and protected. Whereas, when my dad was in India, his dad passed away when he was like 7, 8. He got pulled out of school, and like his older brother was already in the UK, so he was the next eldest. So he had to do all the farming there. 8 years old, like doing like farming, I can't even imagine that. And I think that's was still drilled into them. So when it came to work, he thought probably found it easy. I'll never be able to do that. But it's, I think that's what drives us as well, that work ethic. Seeing that I always wanted more. When I was a kid, I always wanted like the best trainers and that. And by the time, I didn't know that for me to have that, pair of trainers, that how much hard they must have worked. But now I appreciate that. And luckily I can give my children what they want. I wouldn't say I spoil them and they're not into brands or anything.
Yeah. I remember you telling me a story about you buying some Nike trainers after you started your first job.
I used to work on farms, illegally. I think so, I'm maybe about 13, 14 years old. And West Brom was there. So like sports shops there. Anyone knows West Brom? Saved up like £5 a week or whatever. Still had like, I think it was like 60, 70. You can do the maths. How many weeks that took. Went there and bought some trainers and like came home, and I think it was my mum that asked me how much they were. And I must have said like, someone at school was selling them for like, 15, 20 quid or something. So I knew it's a bit of a afford that, spend 60 quid on some trainers. And so I 15, 20 quid. They're not stupid. Dad was like, all right, then go get me some pampers. So I was like, all right, scratching my head. Then I was like, all right. Like I said, you can borrow them. Well, that is a funny story because I went to West Brom, which was like 10-minute bus ride. I was walking. I didn't have enough money for the bus back, so I was walking back. So if you know West Brom, I'm salty about walking back from there with my trainers in my bag. But good stories.
I've always asked you this question and you always give me an answer, but I've always asked you, why did you pick a Texas franchise as opposed to just going as an independent?
I think that even though I had worked in accounts and finance, I'd never worked in practice, and I needed that support. I'll say that push as well, that support net. Even though I went out and said it's like I wanted to do my own business, I had to have that support net. I wouldn't know like just basic things, systems, the compliance. Learned a lot from them, and it made me grow from A to B a lot quicker than I would have done on my own, I think. And in the early stages, I leaned a lot on taxes. The support site is great, a lot of help desk tickets, because I don't know everything about accounts, and when you're on your own, it can be a daunting place. Speaking to the franchisees helped me, looking what other franchises ahead of me were doing. It's friendly competition. That's what I thought of it. So I would say, it definitely helped me achieve, where I'm much quicker than I would have on my own.
So in 10 years, you've grown £1 million plus practice with no prior background in financial accounting, in practice accounting. Apart from hiring me, what were the key decisions that helped your growth or led to this growth?
No, you gotta have a crazy work ethic. It's not get quick rich scheme. I don't work like I would say I used to then. I work differently now. Then it was all about just working hard, getting the sales through the door. I was going networking, like spending money on like crazy marketing and putting leaflets through doors. I did get clients, but going even 10 years, times changed. The hardest thing is getting the right staff. I know you joked about that, but if you haven't got the staff, you can't do anything. because if it was me, I would like split myself up into like 10 different roles, but it's not possible. You only have certain hours in the day. So having that first recruitment, should it be an administrator, should it be an accountant, toying with those ideas, I think that's really important in accounts practice. Having the right staff, you're only as good as your weakest member of staff.
How hard is recruiting?
Very hard. The pool of people coming through of accountants is a lot smaller, because a lot of the younger generation that see social media, they're seeing being a personal trainer, an influencer, they want to do these kind of roles, which is nothing wrong with that. With accounting, either you can go down the route that you did, go down an apprentice and be fortunate enough to get a position as apprentice, be really competitive now, or you can go to university, spend loads of money, and then either find an employer that pay for your chartered examination, but you have to get that done to make yourself different. There's so much competition, or pay that for yourself, which could be another 40, 50k, or whatever might that be, study for another 5 years, and then walking away on not great salary starting off with. So I think that's what puts people off. And so the accountants who are out there at the moment demand a higher price, so you have to keep on learning. It's not a industry where you've got your qualification, that's it, you're done, and you can walk away. Every 6 months something changes, some new compliance comes in, rules and regulations.
Your practice has expanded to multiple locations. How did you manage scaling?
Tried having different locations. As you're aware, I opened a location, a jewelry quarter, just before COVID. It was doing well. We've got all the jewelry trade there, like the bars there who were in the jewelry quarter, and then COVID hit. The bars, clubs, the restaurants around there, if they couldn't open, they weren't getting money. They're not going to pay the accountant. So trial and error, I decided to close that, consolidate, move the location back to the Quinton, the head office. Scaling it is, I don't really know, it happened naturally. I was getting if you're not getting the clients to the door, you can't scale. How was I getting to the clients to the door? Through quality of service, providing them a good service, being the point of contact. To be honest, I don't really know how I managed to be that point of contact for so long for that many clients. It was draining. They constantly want to speak to me, and every little admin thing was my responsibility. Doing the payroll, dealing with their 64A authorization requests, doing everything for them. And so the business scaled because I was giving them that personal service. From there, I started asking them for reviews. I started getting referrals, asking the clients, have you got a mate that might need an accountant? If you don't ask, you don't get. And then, I was getting more clients. So then I had to hire more staff, and then trying to teach the staff to delegate work to them, the admin work to them, still being the point of contact, getting more referrals, more reviews, and it's like a snowball effect. Very difficult to get rolling. Once it's like you're pushing it down the hill, the balls gets bigger and bigger by itself.
At what point would you say that you learned that you learned to delegate? Because accountants, we're control freaks. We like doing things ourselves, and sometimes we are of that thing that, look, this will only take me 5 minutes, but every time you add them 5 minutes up, it becomes hours in a day. At what point were you like, I need to delegate? And it's a crucial part, I think.
Can't keep on burning the midlight candle, and you're never going to be happy with someone like me. That's one that bad trait that I'm always chasing. I want to grow bigger, but sometimes you have to take a step back and say, like, why am I doing this? And you have to give that responsibility to the staff. And it's been a massive learning journey. Staff are never going to work as hard as you, or take that responsibility, and loads of mistakes happen. You have to put processes in place and not take everything to heart, which, at that time I did, personally. That's how I put food on my kids' table, and you're taking that by your mistakes. So I had to try and change that mindset and think that, okay, mistakes happen. How can you improve those mistakes? What systems can you put in place? And take a step back. And that's helped my staff members, because they've taken the responsibility and they've learned from making those mistakes. So I've got low labor turnover because I give them a lot of responsibility now for them to manage their own portfolio.
I'm going to touch upon something that you've changed in the last 6 months: flexible working.
I wouldn't say it's like flexible working as in you have to make your hours up, but this might be blasé of me, but I don't care how many hours you're at the desk. As long as the work's done, client's not chasing you, you've got good communication, manage your own time. You're not kids. You left school at 16. That's when you start being a kid. In my eyes, look, you're grown adults. So if you need someone like me to manage your time, you shouldn't be at work. You should be sitting at home with your parents or something. But what I say to my staff members is, like, if you got to do 5 tax returns to do, sorry, you could be done by 1 o'clock, but you're waiting till 5 o'clock just to spread the time over. That's inefficiency for me. And you are not happy. I'm not happy. Yeah. You're using my resources. So if you're done by 1 o'clock, go done and go home. It's fine. As long as you got someone there covering work, you're speaking to your peers and you're building that team culture as well, I'm fine with that.
How do you manage the trust element of that in the sense of making sure that people don't take the piss out of flexible working? Is it just that you've got a great team that you're on that level to be able to do it?
If you don't try that, yeah, you're never going to get away from that.
Yeah.
So I tried it, and fortunate for myself, staff respected that. They seen the benefit of that they could leave 3, or if they had a dentist appointment, yeah, they could just manage their work. They didn't have to come and ask me. And if they've got a haircut appointment, it's fine. These things people have to do in their own time outside of work. Yeah, but if your work's done, go and do it. I've got no problem with that. There is an element of trust. I look at different key performance indicators for my staff, how many reviews they're doing, how many clients are signing up, how much money they're getting to the door, rather than have they done this many tax returns, how many minutes are they taking them. And these kind of metrics, I would say, enable me to trust my staff.
How would you say your leadership style has evolved from being a sole practitioner into managing a team?
In staff, I would say main thing is micromanagement. When I had 1, 2 members of staff, I was always looking over the shoulder. Oh, what are you doing? I was very paranoid of losing a client at the time as well. So I want to make sure that they're doing everything right. I was reviewing everything that's going out the door. Very time consuming. I couldn't do anything else. I was monitoring them. So I realized that I needed to release that handbrake as such. Let them make their mistakes, have that responsibility, but still train them. It's not about letting them make the mistakes. You have to have some kind of, culture in there. This is how things should be done. And having regular meetings with them, weekly meetings, having a touch point with them that they feel that they can approach you. I don't see myself as a manager, as a boss. Yeah, okay, I own the company, but I'm just offering a facility for you guys to work there. I'm the same as them. I know how it is when you're not appreciated and when you're just working for someone you hate. When you have that Monday morning feeling up, getting up, be a friend to them, but it's very difficult to draw that line sometimes, that boundary of where you are, making that decision to being the friend. And sometimes those lines do get blurred. I think that's a very difficult situation because, especially for myself, having such a close team, if you're a massive organization and you've got like 300-400 staff members, you can't know everyone. I know everyone in my team. I know the personal situations.
I think you've built a very good culture at Tax Assist. One of the things that I wanted to ask from a personal level, I think your man management is really good. And I've been involved in football a lot. And I think man management is so important to get the best out of your members of staff. What prompted you when all them years ago, walked through that door? How did you realize that if you left me to my own devices, I would work the best in that environment?
I'm generally a good juggle character. Within the first 5 minutes, I've done them in interviews. In the first 5 minutes, I know from a likes, you have that inkling with the person and to trust them. You have to learn and make that mistakes. You have to give them that response. How else are you going to learn? I don't know any other way of trusting anyone without throwing them in the deep end and see how swim. And they come to you, that's fine. Do they ask you questions? Are they using their own initiative? I'm not gassing you up now. It's all one thing, I think with myself and with you is that one thing I really liked is that you always use your own initiative and try and solve a problem first rather than always going to the boss or anyone else. Oh, what can I do? Or I can't do this yet. Well, I ever said that. I learned so much on the job. I've got the support of taxes there that if I want to raise a help desk ticket, they can give me the answer. But most time, me and you have that conversation. This is why I like working with you. The guys who are working with you, you can have that conversation with them, that you can have that dialogue with them. Is this right? Is there a better way of doing this? Because even though I might say as the owner of the business, I've got one way of thinking. That way of thinking might not be right. It's good to bounce those ideas off your staff members. They might have it like everyone's brain works differently, which you want to have those conversations with your staff members to have that different mix of ideas and influences, which I think is a massive thing.
What was the most unexpected lesson that you learned in your journey so far?
A hire fast and fire slow, giving people too many chances. I've seen that learn over the years because I've been so involved in keeping that culture, that driving that family environment. Sometimes I forgot that it is a business. And if it was just a black and white commercial decision, I probably would have got rid of certain staff members quite a while ago. But giving them second chances because they're part of your family. I see you guys more than I see my own family. And so that's I would say what I've learned on the way. One of the main things I've learned on the way.
You said that obviously your relationship that you've got with clients, they've become friends as well. A lot of people have become friends, and I think it's the game that we're in. A lot of people confide in us in any aspect of their life. It's not just about the trust of their financial accounts or tax advice. Do you find it difficult to draw the line between that professional and personal relationship with people?
Yeah, I do. It's a gift and a curse because like you're giving them professional advice. It's their livelihood that you're dealing with. But at the same time, they start anything like finance related, like finance related, it's like a problem at home. You end up dealing with it for a reason. And yeah, a lot of the time it's just time, isn't it? You just want a favor and they tell a friend. And like it's not a nice thing to say, but there's no monetary value in that.
Yeah.
I don't like doing accounts for friends and family because of those challenges, other blurred lines. There's a handful of friends and family members that I do it for, which is fine. But yeah, it's difficult to keep those blurred lines.
In them first 18 months that you touched upon, or you've just bought this franchise, you've been away to Norwich, got all the training, your daughter's been born. What was the most difficult part of it?
From leaving wherever school, university, doing the chartered accountancy, thinking, yeah, I'm done, that's it. No more studying, no more classroom environment, then working for wherever 5-10 years after that, and then going back into a classroom environment. I found that difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting, for those 2 months, you're not getting any money in. Yeah, that was a challenge. Is more of a mindset change. So, but I always think, at the same time, I kind of enjoyed it. That I had the opportunity to study again. I always think that I should go and study. It's sort of like, that's not possible with the kids and everything else going on in the business. But I love learning, and you learn differently to me. You'll try something and you'll just go and find a system and I mess around with it. I don't mind sitting getting a book open myself and going to the corner and highlighting stuff. I miss that. Yeah, that's how I learn. Everyone's different. Lifelong learning is really important. I do read books at home, not as much as I would like to.
What book are you currently reading?
Yeah, I generally focus on business development books, accountancy related books. Pretty boring like that.
Can you share a moment where you doubted your decision, or where you felt you doubted your decision?
When you have no clients coming through the door, you are doubting yourself, doubting your decision. And then after that, when the clients start coming to the door, he's like, can I do this work? So learning about on the job, I never produced like a set of accounts in that nature. The numbers are a lot more small. I was used to dealing like million freeing figures and like dealing with like hundreds and thousands, but the work was like technically different.
Yeah.
So doubting then, I didn't want to do anything wrong for a client.
Yeah.
I took that really personally, that I didn't want to mess up them. I didn't want to mess up their business or their life. I'll tell you a funny story actually. What that first client that I had in 6 months, I still remember her name. I won't mention it. Yeah. She came to me in my office, yeah, and I had another accountancy firm next to me where she had come from, and they had messed her accounts up and put her in the right situation with penalties and missed a couple of years. She was doing some studying and like I don't know, some freelancing then. And she was in my office and she started crying. And I don't know what to do. So I was like, oh, you have to come on. I'm like, yes, be all right. I'll say, at that time, I didn't know if I could help her, to be honest with you, but I gave her a proposal and I took that person that I was going to help her situation. It took me a good 6 months to help her, to get the penalties removed, to get her accounts in order. She got that resolved. And after a few months, she came back to me and she wanted to close the business. And I still remember her thank you message because she was losing her hair, affecting her that much from stress. Decided that was a real opportunity. And from then, when I was dealing with that personal relationship with the clients, I tried to bring that approach to all clients. I treat everyone as a case by case basis, how you'd want to be treated, take everything personally. And it's a good thing and a bad thing, yeah, when you take everything personally. Yeah, but that's how I've grown the business.
How did you adapt during COVID? COVID was a mad time for everyone. And I think I remember I used to still go into the office because I need routine in my life. Having a shower, just like going to a place of work, that little drive, it's so important to me.
I was in a fortunate position we could still run the business, we could still do our work. We had to help people with furlough. I remember I was doing like Facebook videos about all the coronavirus schemes that were out, the government grants that were out, and people had nothing else to do. So they were watching at home, watching social media, and they was like, oh, you're the only accountant doing this. And I might not have got a client then, but 2 years then later, they still remember those videos then. That was good for me. I was, again, fortunate that built a close-knit team, had invested in systems that everyone could work from home. We worked on a hosted environment, so we wasn't too impact from business. We still spoke on a daily basis, and managed to sort the accounts out for our clients, help them with the furlough schemes, help them with their grants, and deal with the queries and questions. So to be honest, it didn't really affect me too much.
And that was probably the first time when no one was in the office or everyone was just working individually. How did you manage that?
I was monitoring, I would say, ask my staff first to copy me into emails. I know they're still working.
Yeah.
Having the touch base of the weekly meeting. Yeah, we was on WhatsApp every single day. As long as again the deadlines were getting met, the work's getting done, and queries are getting answered, I was happy.
Yeah, I think like from a personal perspective, it was just so important that we had work at that time because it's just a bit of a madness that we lived through. And I think having work just made it a lot easier, gave you that routine in life.
I was still waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock when I didn't have to, and because I knew that if I get out of that routine, it'll affect me when I go back to work. Yeah, I don't know how long that COVID was going to last. So I was still waking up 4 or 5 o'clock, going for a walk or going on the treadmill at home and keeping in that routine, having breakfast at the same time, logging in, maybe logging at 10, it's fine, and then finishing a little bit early, and then spending some time with the kids at home. I enjoyed staying in my routine and not getting out of that routine.
Going back to your routine though, you've got a bit of a mad routine because for the last 7 years or so that I've known you, there's been chicken and rice on the menu every single afternoon. You function on very little sleep, like me, for example. At times, I can function on very little sleep.
I'm a very light sleeper. When my head hits the pillow, I'll knock out straight away. But I like to wake up early. I go to the gym, not as much as I used to, but it's more for a mental thing for me now. I have my best ideas or what's going to plan for the day. At that time in the morning, I come back. I like to stay in routine. I think it's healthy. I'm going to wake up 8 or I'm going to wake up late, catching up all the time. Must plan ahead.
You obviously exceeded the £1 million turnover mark. What keeps driving you forward? What keeps pushing you forward?
I need to be more grateful. Every morning I try and tell myself, that you're grateful for what you achieved. But at the same time, my glass is half full, which is not a good trait as well.
Yeah.
I always want more. I'm always trying to push myself. I've not got people ask me, oh, what figure do you want? What your business want to grow to? I'm never going to achieve that. That carrot is always ahead of me.
I think generally it's just a money thing. Money is a thing where the more you have, you'll still want more, no matter what figure that, for example, 5 years ago, you probably tell yourself that this figure, like for example, a house paid off and I'm happy. But then when you get to that stage, it's about what's next now.
That's what I want. Yeah. Now I'm here. I'm like, what's the next goal here? What should we do for the next 5 years? And it's never going to ending. It's like sometimes you have to take a step back and stop that chase because you are just like, and there, what are you working for? But I'm trying to have that different mindset thinking and speaking with you and see what you're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve together. Putting the right systems in place for me to monitor from everywhere. I want to be able to travel when I want to. If I want to go, if I want to say to the wife or the kids, oh, you're on half term now, let's book something last minute, or wife's birthday, I've not planned anything, so should we go? I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to work from anywhere. I'm fortunate enough to have that income coming through. That number I just say, you're never going to be happy with.
Yeah, you never.
Some people are happier with less income and they're grateful and content for what they've achieved already.
Why do you think that's a thing? Is it a cultural thing in the UK, or is it because of social media? Why do you think that's a thing?
I always have that back in my mind because from having nothing yet to having something, that rug can always get pulled from you. You should not have that bravado, or you should not have that boasting, because you never know what factor could affect you. It could be COVID, something external, could something having your personal life, could be your health. Yeah. You don't know when that rug is going to get pulled from you.
I think like we're talking about business now, but I think social media has put this where it's fantasized business owning a lot, and it kind of downgrades people that have jobs. So there's nothing wrong with someone having a job and working a job. As long as they're content from it, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
I don't know why people want to have their own business. He might not be Bill Gates, but I don't know who Bill Gates number 2 is, but I'm sure he's on some nice wage.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think just generally now, everyone just looks at social media and thinking that everyone just sees everyone what they've achieved and what they're winning. They don't see the other side.
A lot of these guys who are on social media hiring these cars and showing their self-reduced shopping. Yeah, when you look at their bank account, what they're actually achieving in life, what is the purpose? Get a few likes, a bit of bravado. And I think that's where social media falls down, and it's really unhealthy, really negative. I'm on LinkedIn, but I was on Facebook. I come off it by wasting so much time. I'm getting a few clients on there, But if I lose those clients, yeah, it's not really life changing for
Yeah.
the clients that I was getting through there. But you have to do something. Yeah, I like LinkedIn at the moment. I'm doing a lot of LinkedIn. I think it's a lot more business, a lot more focused. Before you're on Instagram, just scrolling through, you go in the morning, you go in the evening. So I'm trying to have that social detox, and it's been since October. So I'm enjoying it. I'm not set out or anything. And then it becomes a competition as well with your peers. Oh, what's he doing? Oh, what's he bought? Or how he's doing this? Like, why?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's exactly the thing. Like from our perspective, like we believe that risk is written from Allah. So regardless of whether you're gonna help another accountant or not, I'm all for it. Like there was someone in Dubai, they've moved from the UK and they're setting up an accounting practice there and they wanted some help. And I'm like, I'm all for it. I don't mind. Like there's enough to go around and it doesn't really matter. Like whatever you're gonna get, you're gonna get.
I actually, this was a bit of a test for me, that if you try it, if you, not you or anyone else who maybe listening to this or watching it, is that deactivate your social media for about 3 months and see how many friends contact you.
I think it's quite insane because like I don't think we've ever been closer to people regardless of how far we are from people, but I don't think the relationships are the same. Like I remember like growing up, my grandma, she used to have this clipboard and on the clipboard it'd be like paper and they used to write letters and send them to India and people were still had this love for each other and they were there for each other. And at that time there were times where there's so many people in one house and people live together and things like that.
Yeah, things have changed and everyone's too busy.
Too busy. Yeah.
So
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because everything, like, for example, maybe like the cost of living has just gone so through the roof that it's made everyone so busy just to make ends meet?
they always say that cliche, the rat race that's never ending, and the way things are, changing in the UK with the taxes and everything else going on, is that I think the people are just trying to survive. The comes to cost of living has gone up.
I think like I always give this example, like my dad probably in the late 90s when they bought our house, probably bought a house for 50 grand, probably was on a salary of 20 grand, like 2.5 times your salary is your house. Whereas now your average salary is probably about 27 to 30 grand, but the house price is about 300 grand. I can't see how the next generation will be buying houses. Don't get me wrong. I think my personal opinion is that I think it's very overrated buying houses and things like that. And again, that's from a perspective of, I think in schools, kids are not taught about finances. When you come out of school and then you, all of a sudden someone gives you a credit card, credit card, but then you realize you got to pay interest on that. And it's similar to like a mortgage. You think you're buying a house for £250,000. Over the course of your mortgage, you probably pay more than double. And if you spend your whole life just paying your mortgage off, doesn't really like make any sense.
Back in the day, maybe parents didn't know different. All they wanted to do is pay off their mortgage. But if you look at what's happening in Europe, a lot of the people don't own their properties.
Yeah.
The government own them, and you rent them from the government. But then you buy that money to do something else with.
Yeah.
Look at other investments and what else you can do. So I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah. I think the world's just moving to a very different place now. You just spent a week in Abu Dhabi. What did you see as the differences from the UK to the UAE?
That safety element, that security, cleanliness, everywhere pristine, clean, no litter anywhere. People got respect for themselves, respect for others. I think they're the main things. Obviously, you got the glitz and the glamour and massive high-rise buildings and all that and theme park. That's just part of it. I like the more, I'd say the peacefulness. Kids roam around, that trust. Yeah, that was massive. And I'll tell you a story there where my friend left his bag with his money and he's just carrying it around with him for whatever reason. And he's like stressing. I was like, no stress. Rang the Uber driver and the guy was there for 10 minutes. Here's your pirate, and like gave him a nice tip and off he went, nice and happy. But that was in the UK. Can you imagine leaving your bag with all your money?
What advice would you give someone that's just starting up in practice?
Keep going with everything. Yeah, it will come. It's the longer you're there, the more clients that you'll get to the door and you'll learn your sales technique. So it's more meetings that you do. And the other thing is, I'd say, like, I was probably late to the system side of things. That would be a great thing if you're a new accountant, to make sure that you've got your tech stack there initially, then you can just bolt on clients.
Do you think, and we have this conversation all the time, do you think it's important that people that are getting into practice and new into practice make sure that they don't undervalue themselves and compete in terms of price, because you're undervaluing your product and you'll get to a stage whereby you want to go to that next level of charging more, but you can't do that, and then you ended up losing clients, although you're gaining clients as well.
Every single strategist book that you read in accountancy, they say, oh yeah, you never drop your price, high value. But when you're first and you've got no money coming to the door, it's like difficult to stick to those guns. So I just want to get business in. So I still got clients who are lost leaders.
Yeah.
I'm losing money on. I signed him up to keep busy, got coming to the door. Okay, it's not just some cash flow, but it was a hope of that you do a good job for them and they refer you someone else, and that's how it works.
But then don't you think that when they're referring you to someone else, it's always a price sensitive kind of lead?
Yeah, it's difficult. Everyone's talking about this value pricing and charge high and these like all these thousands of figures, which is great. But if everyone's doing that, what's going to happen to all the compliance work? So I'm not saying that value pricing and going for the higher end client is wrong, but you need that balance and that mixture. Compliance is always going to be there. Some clients, they just need compliance, yeah. So you have to offer it. You have to do that work, and from there you can build on to get the bigger ticket stuff. Yeah, and from what I've learned is that, I'll always chase the bigger ticket stuff when I first started. Yeah, I found that they're the worst payers, the most work, and the most demanding. Yeah, that because they know what they're paying you, they treat you like crap as well. They want you to go out and sit in their offices.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, from if I was to give myself advice starting a new practice again, at that time when I first started my practice, I was 18, and it was a case of, oh, I can do a tax return. Yeah, I'm going to charge £80 for this tax return or £60 for this tax return. I'll be like, oh, it took me 10 minutes. But that's not how it kind of works, because you're not giving your time anymore. It's about the service that you're providing, the tax that you're saving someone, the time that you're saving someone. And if you try going down that avenue of £80 took 15 minutes of work, I don't think it ends well.
Yeah, we definitely undervalue ourselves. Offer a lot of value to clients, but just because we know it, we think it's common knowledge, and that's difficult. We've only started charging recently for registrations and do a lot of things for free.
Yeah.
I think because we think, oh, it's only accounts. You take that step back, it's a business. You wouldn't go to any other business and ask for anything for free.
What would you give yourself? What would you say to yourself with all the knowledge that you've got now? What advice would you give to a 25-year-old self, which is probably about 30 years ago? But
I wish I started earlier. Yeah, you're again, like I said, you're younger than me. As we admire that you started business at 18. It's scary. I tried businesses along the way, but yeah, just go for it. There's never going to be the right time. It's never the right time for me. Missus not working, 2 kids at home.
doing it at a time of responsibility, like when I first started businesses, in my head it was like, I've got no responsibility, so this is the best time for me to do it because I've got no bills per se.
Learn a skill, perfect that skill, and you can expert that skill, and then you're adding value to someone.
I think an example of that, and we do obviously accounts for these kind of people, but like electricians and plumbers, they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
They make a lot of money, and people like don't look at them in a very good light, in the sense that they think it's manual labor work or whatever. And what my nephew, when he was about 18, that was the advice I gave him. I said, you don't want to study anymore, just go pick a trade and just focus on that trade. The amount that you can make is it's endless, really. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us on another inspiring episode of Evolve and Inspire. If Kully's story has moved you today, remember that every great journey begins with a single step. And sometimes that step is simply believing in the possibility of change. To our listeners out there facing your own challenges, remember, your current circumstances don't define your future. Every person we feature on this show started exactly where you might be right now, at the beginning of their journey. If you've been inspired by today's conversation, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms. And don't forget to subscribe to never miss an episode. You can also join our community and continue these conversations by visiting our website. A special thank you to Kully for sharing his remarkable journey with us today. Until next time, keep evolving, keep inspiring, and remember, it's not where you start, it's where you choose to go. This has been Evolve and Inspire. I'm your host, Huzaifa. Thank you for listening.